2 has entered the podcast.
Welcome back, people, to Player 2 has entered the podcast, that podcast about video games, nerd stuff, and two friends catching up for the week. I am your co-host, Michael, aka MC Paperstacks, and with me this week, we have a very special guest from all the way across the ocean in Scotland, my good friend, Dylan, aka Retrosega81. How's it going today, sir?
Hi there, I'm very good. Thanks for having me on. Super excited for today's show.
I'm super excited that you're going to be joining me. Now, unfortunately, my co-host with the co-most, Derek, aka Full Metal Merc, he had a lot of scheduling conflicts, so you're going to be pulling double duty today. You are going to be my guest, but also my honorary co-host. So thank you.
Sounds good.
For your support. Now, for those who don't know, Dylan is very prominent on TikTok. He runs a nostalgia and retro gaming channel, one of my favorites. But for the folks out there who are not currently familiar with you, Dylan, describe your channel. What is your channel about, and who is it for?
Yeah, so it's pretty much mostly like retro gaming and what I call like movie and TV nostalgia. So it's a lot of stuff that I grew up in my childhood. It's a lot of like older games and consoles and video clips, movie clips. I do quite a bit of like polls and things as well. So I like to find out what like a lot of my followers think of certain games, which one they prefer, or I do a lot of polls for like characters in movies, for example, as well. Who would win in a fight between, say, Ivan Drago and Clubber Lang, like the fight we never got that we wish we could have got. Mm-hmm. And just anything that grabs my attention in regards to maybe new game trailers as well, or movies, some up-to-date stuff also. So yeah, a mixture of everything, a lot of randomness chucked in there as well. But yeah, mostly retro gaming and, as I say, old nostalgia movies from the 80s and 90s that I grew up with.
Yeah, you got a really good mix on your channel recently of pop culture stuff, like you said, movies, you got the polls. One of the things about you that really stood out when I first started following your channel, and this kind of mirrors your friend Danny, how people would constantly challenge her, do you have X game on the PlayStation 1? I feel like you could play that game with your massive Sega Mega Drive collection. People would constantly challenge you, do you have such and such Mega Drive game? And you would just produce it, which I found to be extremely impressive.
Yeah, I've been really lucky with that, to be honest. I mean, I had a Mega Drive when I was younger. That was probably my favourite console growing up. But yeah, I picked one up, I think it was December 2020 it was. After a few beers, shall we say, I saw one on the Facebook Marketplace that was 10 minutes from my house. So I picked it up with 5 games and I thought I'll buy a few games that I used to play as a kid, and that was it. A year later, I think I last totaled 150 games. So I'm starting to run out of space for them as well, much to my wife's dismay. She keeps threatening me to do not buy any more games.
Well, I mean, it's a legacy thing. You could pass them on to the kids. It's going to be a very worthwhile collection, I think.
Unfortunately, my wife does not seem to see it that way. She just sees it as clutter and space in drawers getting used up.
Well, I mean, that kind of comes along to the lines of the channel itself. When did you start your channel and how did it get started? Like, what was the concept behind it?
Like a lot of people, when we had the lockdown here in Scotland a couple of years back, a lot of people seemed to go on TikTok. Just obviously a lot of it was dance videos and things like that. And I did have a personal TikTok page, which was mostly my daughter uploading, if I'm honest. But I started following a couple of like gaming channels. And as I was watching, I thought, that's something I could probably do. I love gaming stuff. I've always been into retro gaming and things like that. But a lot of my friends are not as mad on it as what I was. So I thought I'm going to set up a TikTok channel and just upload videos of like my Mega Drive games and my collection and things like that. So I think I created the page in about the middle of August of last year. It was mostly just the Mega Drive games and clips, videos of me playing it and things like that I started with. And then I just started interacting more and more with people when they were talking to me and asking, would you like to see other gaming clips of other consoles? Because I do have a retro console that's got about 15,000 games on it across like NES, Neo Geo, PlayStation, Master System, pretty much everything. So people were then, again, like you were talking about earlier, were challenging me, have you got this game? Have you got that game? And it just sort of built on from there. And then I just expanded it to movies and TV shows, I started putting out just a few polls on the page to say, would you like me to start doing some nostalgia movie clips, or I'll post a picture of a game and you have to guess the name of the game by just maybe a clip of the game or a look at the front cover. And yeah, that was it. I just really started to get a bit more confident in interacting. I was quite shy at the beginning because I was new to it all. I'd only been, say, created the page a few weeks. And then it's just the more you get to interact with people, it is actually a really good gaming community on TikTok. I've made a lot of good friends. And when you start getting friendly with a lot of people, you start looking at their content and how they're doing it. They're more established. And it just sort of snowballed from there. And now I'm just having a ball with it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, we occupy a nice little corner of TikTok as far as gaming TikTok is concerned. It's very supportive and nice community.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm happy to, be a part of it and, be friends with you and Danny and DG and others. It's nice.
Yeah. It is good, and you sometimes see it when guys get a bit down and things, and everyone's there and messaging saying, "Oh, hope you're doing good." Or it's funny as well if you don't post a video. If you post every day, I usually post say 2 or 3 times a day, and if I have a day that I don't post, if I've maybe got plans with the family or something, you get a message, "You okay? You doing good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just busy today." So it is. Everyone sort of like looks out for each other, and I think we get quite protective of each other, like obviously you guys, and like you've talked about Danny and DJ, and got Mikey loves retro and everything. There's a lot of guys I speak to, and they're all super friendly, and I would never meet any of you guys any other way if it wasn't on TikTok. So it's a really good gaming community that's there, and it seems to be growing even more and more, and it's crazy the amount of people I've actually met now in Scotland through TikTok. And there was a guy, just a bit of a story that I spoke to from pretty much my day one of my page opening up, and the more I spoke to him, I was like, "Where are you actually from?" And he literally lives 10 minutes from my house. So
wow.
I've just got over COVID, as I was talking about before the show. He's now got COVID. So once he's out of COVID, I've said, right, we should go for a pint and just speak, because I'd spoke for months and months. And then it was just last month we sort of said, "So where about in Scotland are you from?" And he told me, and I told him where I was from. And as I say, it's literally a 10-minute car journey away from each other, which I just thought was mad.
That's really cool, actually. Yeah, I love that. There's just this sense of community through doing the stuff that we love, putting out there. We have this long-form opinion show on the podcast, which I really loved, all the people I've met through that. And I never would have started a gaming TikTok if it wasn't to promote the podcast. And then, like I said, I met all you wonderful people. So it's been really great watching your channel grow. We literally started in the same month. Like you said, I would look at other people, like what they're doing, and sometimes I'd be like, well, what kind of content do I want to put out? And you kind of just fall into your niche, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you fall into the things that speak to you. So,
and that's it. And the more you do that as well, I think you'll probably find it yourself, as you're more willing to keep posting things. And I mean, I sit with sometimes 10, 20 videos in my drafts, and I just want to post them all the time, but I'm like, no, you've got to just post them a couple of times a day and things like that. And you just get so excited about it, especially when you get some good feedback from... The bit I love is when people say, "Oh, you've unlocked a memory for me," and my nostalgia. I've never thought about that for years. And a lot of the times stuff just jumps into my head and then I post it. And then for someone to say that to me, it makes it all worth it. It honestly does. I think that's just what puts a smile on my face. If it's something that was nostalgic to me, you forget it's probably nostalgic to hundreds of other people as well that maybe grew up with that movie or computer game or whatever.
Completely true. Yeah. Well, speaking of nostalgia, you had mentioned that as a child, it was the Sega Mega Drive. What is your current favorite console, your current favorite game, your favorite show, your favorite movie, favorite genre? Give me the gamut on the media there.
Yeah, so if it was retro console, it would definitely be my Mega Drive. That always was my favourite growing up. Mm-hmm. Most up to date, I would say I was always Xbox. I always pretty much had like the Xbox growing up with that until I moved over and got my PlayStation 4. And the only reason I got that was to play The Last of Us, the Uncharted series, Days Gone. And they were the games that, because they were only for PlayStation, I was like, right, I'm going to buy a PlayStation. So that's probably now my modern favourite console. Ever since I bought my PlayStation, I don't think I bought one other game on my Xbox One. Gaming wise, it's hard to pick a favourite game. On the Mega Drive, I would say it's Robocop versus Terminator. I don't know if you've ever played that, but
I have.
Growing up, I just loved that game. Even when I first started going on lives, that was always the first game I would put on to play, and it's just because I'll absolutely love it. And then progressing from there, it would be games like the first time I played Grand Theft Auto 3, that just blew my mind on the PlayStation 2.
I know.
I still had a PlayStation 1, and I always remember going to my friend's house, and he had bought a PlayStation 2, and the only game he had was Grand Theft Auto 3, and I sat and played it for hours. And I went home and I said, I'm selling my PlayStation, I'm selling everything I have to go and buy a PlayStation 2 and to play Grand Theft Auto 3, because I just absolutely loved it. And yeah, and so other games as well. It was like Days Gone was probably my favourite on the PlayStation, but I also loved Fallout series of games. Mm-hmm. So the first Fallout I ever played was actually on a laptop. So it was the very first Fallout that was PC based. Mm-hmm. So it was the turn-based one. I don't know if you ever played that. But that was my first introduction to the Fallout games, and ever since then, that's probably my favourite series, if I'm honest. In regards to TV shows, now you maybe not have heard of these, if I'm honest, but there's a big show over here called Only Fools and Horses. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you would know it, but it's a British comedy one. And then there's a Scottish comedy programme as well, and it's called Still Game. So after the show, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a couple of links so you can watch a couple of the episodes and see what you think. But this is like a huge show over here in Scotland, a comedy show. But more up-to-date favourite shows, I'd probably say, is Cobra Kai. I'm absolutely loving that at the minute.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about that in a bit, yeah.
Yeah. And then also there's Sons of Anarchy. I don't know if you ever watched that.
I haven't seen it. I've heard of it, though. It's got Ron Perlman.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. That is a series as well. Movie-wise, Rocky IV. That's always my favourite movie of all time. I must have seen it at least 1,000 times. To me, no other movie comes even close. And just good. I love it. Everything from it, the soundtrack, just the story, just everything. I'm a sucker for my 80s cheese movies, action movies and things as well, which goes on to your question with genre as well. Probably 80s and 90s action movies are sort of my jam. I suppose you could say, like your Commando, Rambo, Rocky, Kickboxer, all those sort of things.
Yeah, I remember,
which you probably noticed from my channel.
Yeah, no, I have noticed. There's a bent towards those types of like action, kind of like tough guy movies. Before the pandemic, I used to have movie nights, and I tried to theme my movie nights, like invite people over. And one of the themes of the movie nights that I would have recurrently, just because I have so many of these movies, was movies for bros and lady bros who like movies. And it was just basically like Roadhouse and Rush Hour and stuff like that. And they're so dumb, borderline problematic in a lot of ways, but they're so good. And they're a part of, we grew up with those movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Especially Roadhouse is so dumb. I love it.
The thing is, so that's one of those films that it'll randomly be on here on Sky, on our Sky TV, mm-hmm. and it doesn't matter what part of the movie it's on, you will sit and watch it to the end. It could have 20 minutes left, it could have an hour left, you'll just sit and watch it. Same with Point Break, I'm like that with
definitely.
Point Break as well.
Yep.
But yeah, Roadhouse is an awesome movie.
Sure is. Rest in peace, Patrick Swayze.
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
I was going to mention, I'm pretty sure you've played this game. My favorite game on what we would have the Sega Genesis, basically the Mega mm-hmm. Drive, was Gunstar Heroes by Treasure. Gunstar Heroes is I think the reason why I like Gunstar Heroes so much, it was just so diverse. Like, you had different types of gameplay. It was basically a run and gun shooter, but you had a kick, a slide, and a throw. You had all those different weapon or shooting bullet combinations, like your tracer or your power shot, your electricity, all that stuff. You had like a million different mini bosses, and then they would switch up gameplay to like vehicle sections, spaceship sections. It wore its influences on its sleeve, like with Clay Fighter or like different types of games. It really just opened my mind up for what games could be. So that's definitely, like you said, with Grand Theft Auto 3, which was another turning point for me, I think, in gaming. Gunstar Heroes was like one of the earlier turning points in gaming that I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, Gunstar Heroes, it was one of those games that I remember when I was younger from the front cover alone, but I never actually played it when I was young. But it's one of those games that I've been able to play on my retro console, because a lot of people request certain games that I play on when I go on a live, and that's always one of them. Everybody wants to see that, and it is a classic. It's an absolute classic.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, so in regards to your channel, what future plans do you have? I mean, you've already kind of described its evolution so far. Do you see any major shifts in the future? Do you have an idea of where you want the channel to go?
If I'm honest, I don't. I'm just, at the minute, just loving interacting with everyone, if I'm perfectly honest. Go on lives as much as I can. I really like it. It's to make that jump to go on a live. The very first one I did was so nerve-wracking. It was unbelievable. But now I actually look forward to going on them because I do seem to have like a bank of people that try and come on at the same time as me, and I can interact with everyone. It's different to be able to interact just over comments, to be able to do it when I'm live playing a game, and then people will say, oh, can you play this game or play that game? And because I've got the retro console there, or quite a big Mega Drive collection, I'm able to do that. But yeah, probably just to try and keep continuing what I'm doing. I'll keep doing the uploads of games and movies and just trying to mix it up a little bit with it's just mostly randomness that pops into my head from day to day that I try and basically just get a video to upload for everyone. But yeah, that's probably it, if I'm honest. Just keep doing and enjoying it, really.
Okay.
And getting to interact with like guys like yourself and other creators as well. There's a few people that have come to me just to ask for like maybe some hints and tips on how I do like some of my editing and things like that. So just helping other people grow their channels as well, really.
That's great. That's great. Actually, that leads into the next question I wanted to ask. For other people who are considering doing TikTok, especially like a media TikTok or like gaming TikTok, with everything that you've learned and kind of evolved with so far, what advice would you give to somebody just starting out, like that you wish that you knew before you started?
I would probably say just don't be scared of just posting a lot. I think at the beginning I was trying to make the videos look absolutely perfect. And at the beginning, I would say probably what you're wanting to do is just to post as much out as you can. Try and find your niche of what you want to do. So if it's gaming or movies or whatever it may be, just try and post out as many videos as you can and trying to interact with as many people as you can as well. I made a point at the very beginning when I started the channel back in August to reply to every single person that comments on any of my videos, just for the fact that they've taken the time to comment on my video. It'd be nice for me to just reciprocate that to them, to say that, well, thank you, or answer a question or whatever it is they're saying, and to follow other people that have a similar niche that you're wanting to do. So like I talked about earlier, following other gaming channels and interact with the creators and things like that. Because like you say, everyone's super friendly and they'll always try and give you a helping hand. So don't be scared to just ask for that. And that's pretty much what I would say, is just take the leap and just go for it, really.
Okay. All right. Now you probably, I don't know if you've listened to specifically this part of last week's episode or not, but we did just wrap up our 2021. And I know, being a retro gamer, you don't get into a lot of the new games that come out as they do. But I also know that you do still play a lot of games on the regular. So I wanted to ask you, as a fun kind of wrap up to 2021, what's the worst game that you played last year?
So again, it will be an older game. There's two that stick out.
Okay.
One of them I've always said is the worst game of all time. And when I was doing a live, people obviously asked me to play certain games, and this game kept getting requested and requested. So I thought, right, I'll go back to it and play it. I've not played it for 20 years, and I thought, see if it's as bad as I remember. This will be like Marmite. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's Ecco the Dolphin. I to this day, I still do not know what you're supposed to do in that game. And I remember it years ago getting so frustrated. And it's like a classic game. Like, it's one of those games that when you see the front cover, everybody knows what the game is. It's associated with the Mega Drive. But man, I hate that game. I hate it.
It's extremely difficult. I think the only way to get through it is to be a kid who only has Ecco the Dolphin, or maybe he rented it and then that's what you get. You know how, like, when you're a kid, you go to the store, you look at a game, you think it looks interesting, then you play it, you go, oh, this sucks. But I have nothing else to do this weekend.
That's it. Because I remember you talking about that on your last episode, exactly that. You didn't have the guidance of a game. That's how I used to buy my games, was look at the front cover, look at the back. Yeah, it looks good. You'd get it home, you'd play it. It was potentially a load of rubbish, but you were scared to go and tell your mum and dad because they had maybe paid £20-30 for the game. So you just had to sort of suck it up and play it.
I will say this, there is some merit to Ecco. I agree with you that it's not a great game, and there are a lot of design flaws that hinder it from being a classic. But there's a lot to Ecco that I think a lot of people will never be able to chance to realize. if you can find somebody that can speed run Ecco, but not like a glitch, just a full run, because I think if you speed run the game, it probably would still be a couple hours. You should watch it, because some of those levels are fantastic. There are levels where you're swimming with a bunch of gigantic whales. There are levels where you're so deep sea that the creatures down there look freaky. You eventually, like, what happens, not to spoil this old game, but in the beginning,
I don't think I'll ever play it, so you're fine.
In the beginning, all of your friends and all the sea life in your little pod area, they get sucked into the sky, and so you're left to find where your family went. Well, surprise, surprise, they were stolen by aliens. So eventually you get the power. You have to go back in time. That's one thing that you do, to prehistoric times, and then you gain the power to breathe outside of water, and then you go into space and fight aliens, and they look just like xenomorphs, which is hilarious. And you fight this giant alien in order to save your family. Like, that's what you have to do. And I did it once when I was a child.
Gee, that sounds completely different to what I thought that game was then.
It is bananas. So if you can watch somebody else play it, I think it's worth experiencing one way or another. But I don't begrudge anybody who plays it for a few seconds and goes, "This sucks, I hate it."
Yeah, and that's what I was like. And I think I put maybe a video out on that, and I did get a backlash of it. A lot of people that were, no, I do like that game, but there was nobody that was in the middle that said, yeah, it's okay, I quite like it. It was either people that really liked it or really disliked it. There didn't seem to be very many people in the middle with it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's unfortunately the drawback to communicating via comments. You know what I mean? You kind of have to distill. But in a long-form discussion, I could admit that it's very flawed, but also I think it is worthwhile. Like, it's different. You got to give it that at least. But
yeah, definitely. And it is one of those games that I keep saying, right, I need to go back and actually just give it a couple of hours and play it. I think the most I've played it is 10, 15 minutes, and then I've put it to one side. So I need to do it, because it is a classic of the Mega Drive, which, like I say, is my favourite old console. So I think at one point I'm going to have to just go for it and try and get at least 2 or 3 hours into it and see what happens.
Or just
change my mind on it.
Watch a playthrough.
Yeah, I'll do that on YouTube while I'm having my dinner.
There you go. What was the other terrible game you played?
The other one, which again was another request on a live, which I'd never played before, was a game called Dragon's Lair. I don't know if you've ever played that before, and it's the strange. To be fair, I couldn't even get past the first level of it, which is a knight having to cross a drawbridge when there's a dragon jumping up and shooting. I think it's like fire flames at you.
Game, yeah.
Oh my god, it was. I think somebody requested it on a live, and I said, right, I'll play it. And I never got around to playing it, and then they came back to playing it, and I'm trying to remember what console I played it on, because again, it was on my retro console.
What did the graphics look like? Were they digitized, or were they?
Yeah, it wasn't like the Mega CD version or anything like that. I think it was on the NES. I can't remember if it was maybe the
That's
NES
rough,
version.
Dude. They were trolling. They wanted to watch you suffer. That's what that was.
Well, this was the thing. I got it asked once, and then I got it requested again, and it was our good friend Daniel Games that requested it. So I thought, oh yeah, it must be a good game then. No, it was a complete wind-up, as we would say up here in Scotland. And then I kept playing it, and it was just all the comments pinging up with laughing. And of course, the more people were laughing, I'm thinking, is there something I'm missing here? And I must have died about 20, 30 times in a row until I was like, no, I cannot play this anymore.
No, it sounds like you were playing it correctly to me. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You just die over and over again.
Pretty much, yeah.
That actually reminds me when you said there was a bit of a wind-up. When we had talked offline originally about doing a show together, you had mentioned that you were wanting to quiz us on popular Scottish slang.
Yeah, that's right. So I do have a couple. I couldn't think of anything gaming related.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to think of gaming related ones, but there wasn't really much I could come up with. So I thought, well, I'll do a couple of Scottish maybe words or sayings and see if you could translate to what you think they maybe mean, if that makes sense.
Okay, I'm a little worried, but I can give it a shot, certainly.
Right, so I've got a couple. So if somebody was to say, oh, it's Hochin, what would you think that would mean?
It's Hochin?
Hochin, yeah. So it's Hochin in here, for example. If you walked into maybe a club, and the first thing that I would say is it's Hochin in here.
It's Hochin.
Do you know? There's a bit of a clue.
It kind of sounds like hopping, like it's moving and shaking. Like, wow, it's busy. The crowd is huge.
That's it. Busy.
Okay.
Yeah, spot on. Well done. Well done.
Nice.
That's one. I'll give you another couple and see how you get on. So if I was to say something was Bonnie or Bra, what do you think that would mean?
Okay, Bonnie. Well, Bonnie Lass, or like Bonnie, like the etymology of it would be like beautiful. And then bra, I mean, of course, there's sexual connotations to that. So maybe it's sexy or it's hot.
It's nice, yeah. That
okay.
means it's nice.
So, it's just
so
nice.
Yeah, you're
okay.
spot on. Yeah, spot on. And then if somebody was to say boke, what do you think that would mean?
They just go book.
Boke.
Okay.
So BOKE. Boke.
Oh, boke. Okay, I thought you were saying book, like read a book. I was like, okay. That one's tough because I have no word to compare it to.
So that's.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So it basically mean if someone was to gag or to be sick, so you could say, I'm going to boke, for example. If maybe had too much to drink.
I would have never guessed that. I was going to say something like, like that's cool, or like that's, I don't know. That's completely the opposite of what I was thinking. Okay. 2 out of 3. That's not bad.
That's good. You've done well. So, yeah, I mean, the one thing with Scotland is, as much as we speak English, Scottish slang is a whole different language where you could say sentences of Scottish slang and only in Scotland would people understand what you're saying.
I completely understand that. There's a little bit of that. We were talking with Danny, which I'm somewhat familiar thanks to Guy Ritchie films. But like, when you talk about like we're in Barney, or I got to go to open the boot, that type of thing, or I'll have the butchers.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's going to be Barney Rubble for trouble and all the
Exactly.
Cockney slang. So that what I was talking about earlier when you asked me my favourite show, Only Fools and Horses. That's based in South London. And it's basically two brothers that it's based in the 80s. It was back in the 80s it was on. And they are like traders, but they're market traders. So they buy and sell basically rubbish. They buy and sell just anything they can get their hands on. But there's a lot of Cockney rhyming that he says. So he'll say, right, we're going to go for a Ruby Murray. And that would mean a curry. And just stuff like that. So that's pretty much where I get all my Cockney slang from, is from watching Only Fools and Horses.
I love it. I'm looking forward to those links, so I'll definitely check them out and let you know what I think.
I'll send you some good ones.
So, yeah, for folks who are interested, at the end of the show, of course, we'll make sure that everybody knows exactly where to find you, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, let's just catch up for the week, You had told me you're really into Cobra Kai, and they had recently dropped a new season, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So over here in Scotland, I don't know if it'd be the same for you guys over in the States, it dropped on New Year's Eve. And we got it on our Netflix on New Year's Eve, so they basically dropped the full series of season 4. So yeah, I've loved Cobra Kai from when it first came out. I watched season 1 way back when it was on, was it YouTube Red, I think it was called?
When
it wasn't cool
on YouTube Red?
I can't remember if it was the full season or the half the season, and then let's just say I was able to watch the rest of it through other means, shall we say.
Oh, fair enough.
And then, when it wasn't as cool to watch Cobra Kai, so nobody watched it at that point. And then I think once Netflix got a hold of it, it then seemed to be cool to watch Cobra Kai. But yeah, I just love it. I love the Karate Kid movies, well, the three, the original trilogy. And then, as I say, when Cobra Kai came out, it just, for some reason, it just ticked all the boxes for me. I don't know. I like the way, especially in the first season, how there was a sort of shift to the dynamic that Daniel LaRusso was the one you didn't really like and you felt ashamed for. Like Johnny Lawrence, he was the one you were sort of rooting for. Whereas obviously in the movies, it's Daniel's the good guy. Although there is videos out there that show that maybe Daniel wasn't the good guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if this took on in Scotland, but it's been a bit of a meme here for a while to re-describe Karate Kid to frame Daniel as the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because if you state the facts in a certain order, it kind of sounds like he's the bad guy, right?
It does. Yeah, exactly. And it's when you look at it, obviously I'm trying to steal Johnny's girlfriend and things like that. Yeah, it was the same here. We had the same sort of videos come out at the same time.
Which those are really fun, I think, to kind of look back at a piece of familiar media that we all know in a different light. I really liked the first season too. I liked Johnny Lawrence as a flawed protagonist. I think those are more interesting. Obviously he had a lot to learn. He was down his luck. He was blaming everybody but himself. Ed Asner played his stepdad, which was cool. I love Ed Asner. Rest in peace. But yeah, he's good. It was great. And I don't think I got past the first season. There is a familiar character from the Karate Kid films that shows up at the very end of the season, and I think that's the first season, unless it's the second. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, that's it. I don't want to do any spoilers. There's a couple of things, shall we say, but trying to remember what season it happened in, I can't. But if you don't know any of the spoilers, it's definitely stay clear of them and watch it. If you enjoyed the original trilogy movies, you'll love Cobra Kai.
I need to go back and finish it.
I would recommend it. I definitely would. It's obviously like the originals as well were quite UPG, kid friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Cobra Kai there's some wording and things like that in it that you probably couldn't show your kids, and I think that's probably what I like about it as well, because obviously it's like it's grown with the generation that watched the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, you could bring Cobra Kai out and make it like how it was the Karate Kid that I know from the 80s, but kids nowadays are probably not really going to be interested in it, where myself, I'm 40 years old, I grew up with the Karate Kid, so to bring the season forward to show the young kids that are there to get that audience in, but still to keep the attention of like people my age, I just think it just worked perfect. And it's hard because there's not a lot of things that have come back after all those number of years that have got it right. But for me, I think Cobra Kai did. I watched as well the Mighty Ducks. You know how that came back for a season.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you watched the movies of them, and it was quite good. It sort of ticked a few boxes and things, but no, I just thought Cobra Kai was brilliant. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, they did a really good job in capturing the spirit of the original films. I think where a lot of these revival shows fall short is they just think they can reference the original show, but they don't take the time to dissect the fandom and the distillation of the message and the theming of the original show and bring that into the new show. They're just remember this, and that's not enough. That's not enough.
Yeah. And there's been quite a few flashbacks and things that they've taken from the old movies as well, so you're getting to see bits of Mr. Miyagi and things like that, which sort of tugs on your heartstrings a little bit. And it's a little known a fact as well, actually, I don't know if you knew this, but at the moment when Cobra Kai came out, is it Ralph Macchio, is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah.
He was actually older than what Mr. Miyagi was in the first.
Miranda was at the time, yeah.
Yeah, which is absolutely insane. I didn't believe it, so I looked it up, and right enough it was that he is younger in Cobra Kai he was older in Cobra Kai than what Mr. Miyagi was in the Karate Kid movies, which just seems crazy.
Yeah. Rest in peace to Pat Miranda too. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's cool. I've actually been watching Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus. They're 2 episodes in, and I know that you said you're saving yourself because you want to binge that bad boy, right?
I do, yeah. I do. What's your thoughts on it so far then? You enjoying it?
I am. Without telling you any specifics, the framing of the show, there's a lot of flashbacks, especially in the first episode, but it seems like it's a thing that's going to carry out throughout the other episodes too, because there's kind of 2 timelines. The timeline from before Boba Fett became the person that you meet in The Mandalorian, and then the timeline of Boba Fett when we leave him at The Mandalorian, right?
Ah, right, okay,
right.
Okay.
And the 2 timelines kind of mirror each other, which I think is purposeful story writing on the part of Jon Favreau. Mm-hmm. It was kind of clunky in the first episode, and a lot of people didn't like it. They were like, what is this? I don't want to see all these flashbacks. They just didn't like the way it was working. But the second episode for me is kind of lining up what that theme is supposed to be, and it's a little bit more clearer, the parallels that they're drawing between his past self and how he got up to the point where he was in The Mandalorian, and then the new problems that he's dealing with as like the new Hutt and Tatooine or whatever, or the Daimo, I think they call him, right?
Yeah,
because he took over Jabba the Hutt's old whatever. So yeah, I'm digging it. I don't know if I like it as much The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian just hit real good when it came out. I was just like, oh, this is what I wanted. This is what I needed, and this is just more in that universe, but it's not necessarily scratching an itch I didn't know I had. It's just entertaining. It's got action. I'll call it the train sequence. There's this train sequence in the second episode that I loved, and I thought was very action-packed and very tense. So it's picking up with me.
Nice. Just because you mentioned The Mandalorian there, what was your thoughts on the whole last episode, shall we say? I don't want to maybe ruin anything, but the scene, shall we say, what was your thoughts on that? Did you just think that was amazing, or did you see it coming? Or
Yeah, I didn't see it coming. I think Derek saw it coming a little bit more than me, and he enjoyed it slightly more than me, but I still loved it. Like
Yeah.
we both heaped tons and tons of praise on the show. I was impressed by Bill Burr, to be honest. His cameos, I'd never seen him. I think the first episode he was in was a little clunky, but then the episode where he goes undercover with the Mandalorian, he showed a little bit of range, and I was very impressed. So,
Yeah,
but
I was the same. I thought it ticked all the boxes for me, The Mandalorian. I went in thinking, oh, it's not going to be that great. I'll watch it, but yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And is there the rumours as well? Is obviously there's going to be the new one coming out of Obi-Wan Kenobi, isn't there? With Ewan McGregor and is it Hayden Christensen's coming back as well as Vader. Which don't know, what's your thoughts on that? I think that'll be interesting.
Well, we're both around the same age, so we both probably felt a certain type of way about the prequels, but I think a lot of younger kids that grew up watching and enjoying the Clone Wars, and maybe they were a lot softer on the prequels because they didn't have all the baggage that we had.
Yeah,
I think that this is really going to be for them. And honestly, having recently watched Spider-Man No Way Home, and I won't ruin anything if you haven't seen it yet, there are references to other properties and other movies that made me soften my opinion on those just because of how they were wrapped up or handled in this movie. And I feel like that's happening now when they start to reach back into the prequel trilogy and grab characters. I'm familiar with them and how clumsy they were and the attempts and the way they fell short. But seeing those characters then revived and used in a better way, I'm okay with it. In fact, I support it.
yeah. I'll be interesting to see what route they go down. I think that's the whole thing. I'm looking forward to. I've always said for years the one story I've always wanted to see, which I don't think we will because it's Disney that's got it, is the whole story with when Anakin becomes Vader and then Vader trying to wipe out obviously the Jedis. That's the story I've always wanted to see. Which you know how you saw the end of Rogue One, for example, that Vader. I just wanted a story of all that, but I think now because Disney Plus has got it, I very much doubt we'll get that. But it'll be interesting to see what happens, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And after you see Book of Boba Fett, it'll be interesting to hear your opinion on Anakin's kind of actions during the second prequel film, Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, exactly,
because there's a lot of new perspective that you're given just in episode 2 about a certain race that exists in Star Wars. So I won't say any more than that, but it's interesting. It's very interesting. So other than that this week, I don't know if you follow this at all because I've been kind of ignoring it because they're so expensive. You know, Lego is partnering with Nintendo to do like Lego Mario stuff. Well, they had released Lego Luigi, and I didn't think much of it. And then this week, they released a couple of Luigi's Mansion-themed sets. And then I saw one that was on sale. And my son, my 5-year-old, he's obsessed with Luigi's Mansion. Obsessed. And it sucks because he's not very good at hand-eye coordination, so he can't quite play the game yet, but he watches it all the time on YouTube. And I thought this would be a more tactile way for him to enjoy Luigi's Mansion. So I went and I used like some extra cashback credit I had on a credit card, and I got the starter kit with Luigi, and then I got 2 sets, one with a Poltergust and one with like a much bigger play set with King Boo that interacts with the Luigi or whatever. And I put some TikToks up about some of the ones I've already opened, and I'll probably do TikToks where we put it together and play with it for a bit, but I'm super excited to give it to him. So
yeah, I have seen them. One of my friends' little boy's the same. He's absolutely crazy on it, and it does look pretty cool. I think is that just brand new then? It's only just come out.
Yeah. I mean, Lego Mario's been out for a bit, and the Lego Luigi released not too far back. They're electronic, so they interact and make different sounds and noises when you move them around the Lego playset that you build. So it's kind of wild. It's a lot more animated and electronic and interactive than, say, the Lego sets that you or I might have built when we were kids.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. That's pretty much my week. Now, we usually will talk about the games that we played in the last week, but being that you're a guest, I figured I'd catch up with you a little further back than that, and we talked about 3 games offline that you've been playing recently. What you been getting into lately, Dylan? What you been playing?
Yeah, so recently, again, it's older games that I've been focusing on, but recently I was able to get a PlayStation 2, thanks to Danielle Games. So that was a couple of months back. So I've been really getting into playing that. So the first game was The Warriors. So I don't know if you're aware of the movie from The Warriors. I think it was 1979 maybe that came out. So this was a Rockstar game that came out in early 2000s, I think it was. Absolutely brilliant game. It's probably my favourite game on the PS2, if I'm honest.
Wow.
So I played through that again and wondering, is it going to be as good as what it was like 15 years ago playing it? And it definitely is. I absolutely loved it. It sort of starts as a prequel before the movie, and then the ending of the game is sort of the beginning of the movie, and then just a quick shift through the movie to the end. That's so cool. I highly recommend it. It's an awesome game. And then after that, I've just recently started as Bully. Again, it's another Rockstar game where you take control of a guy at a boarding school, and it's a lot like your sort of Grand Theft Auto feel, free roam school, and there's a town that you can roam in and do missions and challenges and things like that. Really been getting into. And then just most recently I bought on launch day was the new Call of Duty on PS4, so that was the Call of Duty Vanguard. Played a little bit of the campaign. The campaign's quite good. I've heard it's quite short, so I've only been playing little bits of it to try and eke it out a little bit, as we would say, to make it last, and then playing a little bit of it online as well. But like I had said offline, I hadn't bought a Call of Duty game in years. I think the last one I bought was before it started doing the Advanced Warfare stuff, but when I saw this come out, I thought I'm going to give it a try, and I'm not that impressed with it so far, if I'm honest. I think I was expecting more from the online maps. There's still a lot of camping, but when you're getting killed thinking this has got to be hackers and things like that, and it's sort of ruined it, unless I've just got extremely bad at it, which could be an option as well, to be honest. But
it might be a little bit of column A and column B, because you have a lot of people who all they do is play that game, which is why I always shy away from like online competitive games that are really popular, like Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty. No shade against them or the people that play them. They look like great games. I just don't want to be tied down to just one game and have to get really good at it in order to enjoy it, when there's all these other games I can just pick up and play, you know?
Exactly. That's it in a nutshell, though. That is exactly it in a nutshell.
Well, yeah, man, that sounds awesome. The Warriors, I didn't play in its hey, but I did get the digital re-release on PS4, and I played a bit of it, and I'm sad that I passed it by. It's a really decent brawler. I love beat-em-ups.
Yeah, it is good. And I downloaded the same game as well and done a comparison to play them both. And they're quite similar, to be fair. I mean, updated graphics on the PS4, and the fight mechanics is a little bit better, but other than that, it's almost spot on to the PS2. Yeah, it ages very well, I thought.
Well, with Bully, the first version of that I played was the Scholarship Edition on Xbox 360, where they add additional classes and a few other mechanics. I think they let you kiss the boy. Because originally I think you could only kiss girls. So that's cool. What I really like about Bully, I mean, there are obviously NPCs that are kind of generic, like townies, so to speak.
Yep, that's right.
Every single one of the children are unique, named individuals with their own schedules and personalities. And when you get the camera in the Scholarship Edition, I think this is one of the editions they didn't have in PS2, but correct me if I'm wrong if you've seen this mechanic. When you get the camera, if you take a picture of a kid, it'll show up on like your files as like a yearbook picture, and there's an achievement to get a picture of each of the individual children. So you're like incentivized to go out and find each of one of them running around.
If it is there, I wasn't aware that was there, but there's every chance that it is. That's what I was saying when I was on my live, is the little touches that Rockstar do in their games for things like that. And again, with Grand Theft Auto, I think that's what keeps you going back to those games, because there's so many different little side missions and extra bits and mini games and things like that are thrown into them.
Yeah, in my opinion, Bully is one of the better ones that do it. It's a smaller map, obviously, but it's compact. There's a ton of stuff to do, and I love the themes and the music. The music in that game is fantastic.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
All the heavy drums, kind of like the high school band vibe. You know what I mean?
Yep, exactly. It's good.
I rock with it.
There's seemingly a rumour, very strong rumours now, that the sequel is coming. I know that's for years and years we've all been wanting it, and it's never looked like it was going to happen. But I think in the last couple of months, it seems like it's getting very close from what I was hearing.
Yeah, this is why I bemoan the success of Grand Theft Auto Online. They are literally printing money with that, so I can't fault them for not wanting to work on anything else. But I feel like if Grand Theft Auto Online was less successful, we'd have Grand Theft Auto 6 and Bully 2 by now.
Exactly. Definitely.
Oh, God. All right. Well, I've been playing a little bit here and there. I had mentioned recently there was a rumor that Persona 5 Strikers was coming to PlayStation Plus, and that was true. That actually came for this month. And I already got it and played through it on the Switch, but I thought this would be a good excuse to come back to it. Slightly better frame rate and graphics, which it does have a performance mode, and I can play it on my PS5, and I can get trophies. So I went back and played a fair bit of that this week and had a lot of fun with it. The music is still fantastic. The game is still a lot of fun. Really fun if you like beat 'em ups. Dylan, do you play Warriors games or Muso games at all, like Dynasty Warriors, stuff like that?
I've never played any of those type of games, and it is something that people all the time ask me on my page, and it feels like I've just missed a whole genre of games, if I'm honest. I've never played any of them.
If you like beat 'em ups, I think it's worth your time. To me, it may be a little dated because you can't control the camera, and obviously it's an earlier PS2 title. But if you can find Dynasty Warriors 3 for PlayStation 2, since you're starting to collect for that now, since you got your PlayStation 2, that's one of my favorite Dynasty Warrior games. And of course they have, I think the best modern one would probably be Dynasty Warriors 8, which you can get for PlayStation 4. Skip 9, it's terrible. You can get 8 if you want to play a modern one. But if you haven't played any of them, you have no expectations going in. It would be cool to go back through the original ones. Dynasty Warriors 2 was the first PS2 game I ever got, alongside Tekken Tag Tournament and SSX. And it just immediately clicked with me. I was like, this is a beat 'em up, but it's huge. And you kind of level up your characters because you can get stat boosters when you defeat strong enemies. And it's just wild. And I thought Dynasty Warriors 3, the jump from 2 to 3 was so big. You just go through ancient China and you go through these warrior stories, and you can get like ultimate weapons for all of them if you play like a certain stage on hard mode. And there's like, it's just epic. I don't know how there's any other way to describe it. But of course, that formula has been so popular, they've applied it to other genres. You got Hyrule Warriors on the Switch, with like the Zelda characters. Fire Emblem Warriors with the Fire Emblem characters. And then most recently with the Persona series, those RPGs, you got Persona 5 Strikers, which is a direct sequel to Persona 5, which is more of like a turn-based RPG. So, do you have PlayStation Plus?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You should try out Persona 5 Strikers. If you like beat 'em ups, especially if you enjoy the Warriors. I mean, it's a little wacky. It's very Japanese, but to me, and again, you're not going to maybe get some of the references because it is a direct sequel, but the gameplay is so frantic and fun, you might be into it.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. That's another thing I like as well, is when people on the page on TikTok, I think, recommend games that I've either completely missed or not seen. So yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, you and I can have a very robust discussion offline about like PS2 games to grab, like now that you're collecting again, because oh my God, there's so many. Like
I know, I didn't realize how many there was. I mean, obviously back in the day, I did play a bit of PlayStation 2, but see now looking back and how cheap you can pick up some of the games as well. But there's just so many games with so many different ranges of what they do. It's unbelievable for the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, it's probably the console that I have the most physical games for, I think. I'd have to go back and double check that, but I'm pretty sure. Because there's just so many.
Yeah, and they don't take up much space either. That's the thing. I didn't notice it until I have some of my Mega Drive games lined up beside the PlayStation 2 games. Yeah, and it's like you can get boxes. 3 PlayStation games to 1 Mega Drive game. Yep. It's crazy.
That's awesome. All right. Well, other than Persona 5 Strikers, I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Brilliant Diamond recently, and I finally beat the game. And I had heard rumors about this, but it's true. There's a post-game to Pokemon Brilliant Diamond that is huge. It immediately unlocks the Pokédex Pokemon for Generation 1, 2, 3, and then, of course, you have access to 4 because that's the generation you're in. There's this whole island of different activities to do, and then different additional missions. The underground that you play in opens up and new items are added. There's like islands and stuff to visit to get legendary Pokemon. You have access to all the legendaries from the previous generations. Like there's a lot to do.
Nice.
So I've been having a lot of fun with that. Plus, that's the easiest game to play when you have a newborn in the house because my kid was just born not like a little over a week ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I got 2 sons now. I got a little week-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh, nice. So it's a bit of a madhouse then, as we would say in Scotland.
A little bit of a madhouse for sure. But we're enjoying it. And he's a good kid. He's a chill kid, just like his brother, which is nice.
Perfect. That makes a big difference. It does.
Now, on Xbox, I got a Series X, and I got Game Pass, because it's the greatest deal in gaming, let me tell you. But they released Mass Effect Legendary Edition on Game Pass, and I went back to check that out, because I just felt like I didn't play enough games for the podcast this week. So I was really just intending to play a couple hours, like, it's Mass Effect, And I'm hooked. I forgot how much I love Mass Effect 1. I can't stop playing it. I can't stop.
I loved Mass Effect 1. Absolutely loved it when it came out in the 360.
I think maybe this is a testament to the Legendary Edition. I can't notice that it's been upgraded in a good way. Like, it looks just how my rose-tinted glasses tell me it's supposed to look. It looks good. Like, Mass Effect 1 looks great. It plays great. It doesn't feel clunky. It doesn't feel dated. And there's no glaring omissions or changes that would cause dissonance to the way I remember playing the original game. So to me, that means they nailed it in the upgrade department, the re-release, the remake, whatever you want to call it. Fantastic. And now I can see that that's just the game I'm going to be playing for a while until maybe something like brand new and shiny tears me away. But I can't see it right now. So,
it was awesome. I remember I think it was the first 2 I played, and then I played a little bit of the third one, and then I remember when my daughter was born, not long after that, what was the next? Andromeda? I can't remember how you pronounce it. And I started playing that, but then you'll know you have not very much time when you've got a newborn, and you need hours to play it. You just need hours to be able to sit and play these games, because I just got so immersed in especially the first 2 Mass Effects. Whereas you get quite emotional with the story, you get so engripped in it, it's like a movie. And I've just never went back to it, because I've just never get the time to sit for like 4 or 5 hours at a time to just get right into it.
Well, my friend, I have a cheat code for that. So for all you gamers out there with newborns, stick around. I'm going to let you know how you can work around that. At least this is what I do. And it's worked for me for my first son. It's working now. So
perfect.
We'll
I'm listening.
But before we get into that, it's time for gaming news. Hear it. Gaming news. So join me, Dylan. We're going to be talking about the news of the day or of the week, of the past, whatever. There's some interesting stuff going on. Now, I just been talking about Game Pass. Game Pass is about to get even more robust. So we're already getting like Microsoft Day 1s. We're getting EA games. And it sounds like Ubisoft may be adding their Ubisoft Plus service to Game Pass. They've announced that Rainbow Six Extraction, which is the newest Rainbow Six game, is going to launch Day 1 on January 20th on Game Pass.
Nice.
So I ain't got to pay for it if I want to try it out.
Perfect.
It's on Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass for PC gamers as well. From the statement that they released, they mentioned the Rainbow Six Extraction release on Game Pass is just the beginning. Ultimately, they are going to offer the Ubisoft Plus subscription service to Xbox owners on Game Pass so they can enjoy the full extent of the Ubisoft Plus game library, including new releases on the consoles. Now, they didn't give a date for this yet, but that just already further heightens the value of an already extremely valuable service. There are so many games I've played on Game Pass that I didn't have to pay for.
I know, but I was the same before I bought my PlayStation 4. I had Game Pass on my Xbox One, and I was the same. I was downloading games left, right, and centre, and then when I got my PlayStation 4, my daughter actually nicked my Xbox One, so I didn't get to play it again. But yeah, I thought the service was awesome. I thought there was some brilliant games on there.
Hey, if you don't mind me asking, how old is your daughter?
She's 7. So yeah, she pretty much uses the Xbox One for Disney Plus and Netflix, and a little bit of Disney Infinity she plays. That's pretty much it.
Has she tried out that Paw Patrol game that Derek was talking about last week?
She's not really in. She used to be into Paw Patrol, but it's now like Disney princess stuff and everything she's in. I loved it before. See, when she was 3, she was right into Marvel. I don't know how she got into it. I think it was one time a cartoon was on and she just loved the Avengers. So much so that we actually took her to see Endgame. I think she was maybe about 4 at the time. Never thought she would sit through it, but she sat through the whole movie and she was just absolutely glued to it.
Wow.
But now, unfortunately, it's Disney princesses. It's no more Avengers anymore.
That's her new cinematic universe, the Disney Princess Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, unfortunately. And LOL and all this sort of stuff.
Hey, if she's into it, it is all right. I mean, technically, Princess Leia, I think, is a Disney princess now. So
yeah, she was big on Star Wars as well. She actually watched like we were talking earlier, The Mandalorian with me. And again, she got quite emotional at the very last episode as well with the big scene. So that was quite cool sharing that with her. My wife had no interest in it, but yeah, me and my daughter sat and watched that. So that was quite cool getting to share that moment with her.
That's extremely cool. You had mentioned, with your PlayStation 4, then you got your PlayStation 5 coming soon. Congratulations, by the way. It's so
Thank you. I'm buzzing for that.
Yeah, they announced this week PlayStation VR 2. No official dates have been given about its release, but we know that it's going to be PlayStation 5 only. And we know that Guerrilla Games, the people who make the Horizon Zero Dawn series, they're working on a launch title, I think, with an original Horizon character for the PS VR 2. Also, the VR headset has head and eye tracking. So the head tracking would eliminate the need for the PlayStation camera. The eye tracking means that looking in a different direction without moving your head can create additional input for the game character and help the player interact more in lifelike ways in the game. So there's been other headsets, I believe, like the Vive, I think, also has been experimenting with eye tracking. So it's not a new technology, but it sounds like they're putting a lot more effort into it. And to be honest, traditionally, PlayStation VR has been kind of on the low end in regards to resolution and power, but it's also been more affordable.
Yeah.
So,
have you played any of the PSVR, just on curiosity? I've never actually played it. I've seen games and things, but I've never actually played it. Have you played it yourself? Or?
Yeah, I have. I've described my experience a few times earlier on in the show. But to sum it up, I get VR sickness.
So I do remember you saying that on one of your previous shows. It's only so long you can be in there.
Yeah. So there's only so long I can be in there. So yeah, I have played it, and it's indescribable. You really do. Your brain just thinks you're there. Just look around you right now. Look at if there's a desk in front of you, there's a chair next to you. Your relationship in your space. You feel like you can reach out and pick up the thing in front of you and put it somewhere else if you want. You have that same feeling when you're in a VR game. There's no other way to describe it. You're just there. And the fact that the technology is expanding to track eye movements and other things, and it's becoming less cords and less cumbersome, I think that eventually VR will be more of a mainstay in gaming. I think right now the barriers are setup, space, and cost. Cost being the big thing.
That's it.
So I'm happy about it, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm going to be an early adopter because I still need to get my VR legs, so to speak. Yeah. Does that come with time then? Is that a true thing that they say that the more you spend in the VR, you must get acclimatized to it? Or some
do you think
people can play it immediately and they're fine, and other folks, it's like people who get car sick, right?
Yeah.
It may just take some time. You may have to take some medication. Maybe you get vertigo. I don't know. Because honestly, the detriment of getting sick while playing VR outweighs me wanting to practice it. If it was just pop on a headset and play for a bit, maybe it'd be easier, but I got to re-plug in my cords. I have to plug in my HDMI to something else. It's a lot just so I can play for a single hour and hopefully not get sick.
Yeah. It does seem a bit messy with that side of it, to be honest.
Yeah, again, depending on which unit you buy, there are VR headsets that have a lot less setup. But in regards to PlayStation VR, there's so many cords and mess that you have to screw around with. To me, it just takes too long to play a game for a very little amount of time. So I haven't done it much outside of maybe the first 6 months I've had it. And then I was playing it almost every day, and I still didn't quite get used to it, if that says anything. So, all right, I don't know if you heard about this. Shaquille O'Neal was making news for giving away 1,000 Switches and 1,500 PS5s to kids on Christmas. Now, Where he got these PS5s, I have no idea. Most of us could barely get one, but he got 1,500.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he was quoted as saying that he knows what it's like to struggle, and there's a lot of kids on Christmas who get nothing, and he's had a few Christmases like that, and he wanted to do what he could to give back. I think he went to a school in Georgia and just surprised the kids with all this stuff. And on its face, the story sounds very positive, and I don't want to take away from the act of charity. I think it's a very thoughtful gesture, and I think it's a nice thing to do. However, I feel like sometimes when we hear about stories where rich people donate something to underprivileged kids, especially here in America, I don't know what politics are like in Scotland.
Yeah.
All I can think about is how rich people are also constantly buying off lawmakers to ensure that they stay rich and the poor stay poor.
Yeah.
To me, a more feel-good story would be Shaq petitioned Congress to change a law allowing kids to be able to go to school and not be so hard for them to get like lunch paid for them, or something to uplift all those families out of poverty rather than giving them like a Band-Aid for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's a bit like that over here as well, to be honest.
Fair enough. Yeah. So nice gesture, but rich people, if you're listening, we're going to need something else. We're going to need you to stop putting Band-Aids on the problem that you're helping create and actually make some substantive change, please. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
On to happier news. There is a rumor going around based on a recent leak of achievements that Rare employees were getting on Xbox that Goldeneye is going to be ported to Xbox and likely will probably drop on Game Pass because that's how Game Pass do. So if you were holding out on Nintendo Switch Online for that GoldenEye to come through, maybe get yourself an Xbox, because it sounds like N64's GoldenEye may drop on Xbox before it does Nintendo, which to me, I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I'm buzzing about this. When you gave me the heads up on this one, I ended up down the rabbit hole of YouTube just trying to find as much information as I could. Yeah. I absolutely loved GoldenEye. On the N64.
Did you see anything interesting when you were kind of perusing the YouTubes?
Not really much at them. It's all sort of hearsay at the minute from the videos I was seeing. It's really just a wait and see, I think, isn't it? To see what they're going to do with it. Will they change any of it? Will they keep it exactly the same? Will we get new levels? Multiplayer, how that's going to work? I mean, I remember when we were younger playing it, obviously I had the 4 split screen. And I don't know if you guys were the same, but you would run with your gun facing the floor because you knew the map so well that and one glimpse at your friend's screen, you knew exactly where they were, or you'd be hiding in the toilet facing the roof with a gun because you knew you couldn't quite tell where they were. But that was, for me, that was just the N64 was that game, was GoldenEye.
And you had that one kid that would always pick Odd Job and everybody hated him. Like, what? No, he's banned.
Exactly.
Well, I tell you, this would be a chance for Xbox to flex on Nintendo because they had a less than stellar launch of Nintendo Switch Online for N64 emulation. Mm-hmm. And I haven't personally had a ton of problems with it, but I'm not going to negate or say that other people's problems aren't like valid. But if Xbox can cleanly and efficiently recreate that experience by re-releasing GoldenEye with no problems, it's not going to be a good look for Nintendo for sure.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That was something I was really buzzing about, so I'll be keeping my eye on that.
For sure, me too. The president of Square Enix released a letter this week that got a lot of people buzzing. I saw people ripping this apart on Twitter. It is probably some of the most tone-deaf, ridiculous drivel I've ever heard a CEO spout about gaming. I think I copied down a snippet. Okay, so here's a quote from the letter, and I'm going to link it in the show notes along with the breakdown that James Stephanie Sterling did because they eviscerated this letter, and I think that they did it more perfectly than I ever could, but here's a part of it here if you want to hear it. I realize that some people who, quote, play to have fun, end quote, and who currently form the majority of players have voiced their reservations towards these new trends, talking about NFTs, and understandably so. However, I believe that there will be a certain number of people whose motivation is to, quote, play to contribute, end quote, by which I mean to help make the game more exciting. And they go on to talk microtransaction and games as a service nonsense. Like, it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that not only did they make this public, it's still up. Like, I checked the link yesterday to go, sure, they would have taken this down by now, and they haven't. It's insane. CEOs are just a different breed of people. I don't understand how you can just operate on a different level of reality from everybody else, and there's just nobody around to go, hey, no.
Yeah. It's like they're scared to do that, though. That's probably what it is.
So, non-fungible tokens, or nasty fucking things, as they're known around my circle, they're probably here to stay, and unfortunately, I think they're going to have a pretty monumentally detrimental effect on gaming moving forward, but we're going to have to keep our eye on those things to make sure. I really sincerely enjoy the schadenfreude from the backlash of this letter, and I hope that people continue to be upset and outraged by these types of things, because I think that's the only thing that's going to affect change. Did you get a chance to read the letter? I don't know if you looked it over.
I've not had a chance, no, but I'm going to have a look at it after this podcast, after you highlighted it to
It's
me.
A fun read, and by fun, I mean gross.
Yeah, it's definitely one I'll be sitting having a coffee reading over, without a doubt.
Yeah. More Xbox news. Xbox started disabling dev mode accounts, so like developer mode accounts, this week. And it was originally speculated when this started happening that they were removing accounts set up for emulation, because DuckStation and other popular emulators, and I've done this too, can be run on an Xbox One or a Series X or a Series S if you run the Xbox in developer mode. All you have to do is pay $20 for the right, and then you get it set up, and then you can partition off a section of the memory of the console, download your emulator and your games, and boom, you're playing PlayStation 1 games or RetroArch or whatever on your Xbox. It's pretty cool. I've done it.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do this, and when you gave me the heads up on this, I ended up down the rabbit hole of YouTube, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how did I not know about this? I have never heard of this before. And this is something that's right up my street.
Yeah, I did a TikTok where I ran Legacy of Kain for a bit on it, and I did it to DuckTales because it's called DuckStation, and I just thought that was funny.
Nice. I'm going to have to look at this more then. It's completely bypassed me, this one.
Yeah, that's a roundabout way of saying basically that people thought they were removing the dev accounts because people were only using them for emulation. But a recent statement was clarifying that that's actually not the case. It was a mistake, and they are reinstating any accounts that may have been disabled as the result of the error. I actually checked my account, and my dev mode account is still active, so they didn't hit me, whatever. But while I was going down the rabbit hole of this, I did learn that currently you can now run emulators in retail mode, which means you don't have to switch back and forth between retail and dev mode. And now I kind of want to test that out. So I might be looking running some emulators without having to switch my Xbox mode, because it's a little cumbersome. You can't run retail mode while you're running dev mode and vice versa. So it's not like I can switch back and forth between Mass Effect Legendary Edition and DuckStation.
Yeah. So what does that involve to switch between the two then? How do you go about doing that?
You go into the App Store and there's a dev mode kit activation tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a way that you can start up your Xbox in dev mode by like pressing a combination of buttons, but I find it's just easier to hit my activation app, and then it restarts my console in dev mode. And then I can access my emulator, and then from there, the emulator will run any games I either have stored on my Xbox, or you can set up a network and have the games just pulled directly from your PC via your wireless connection, which a lot of people like to do to save space. The catch is, in order to play my other games or play my Xbox in retail mode, I have to restart the Xbox again back into retail mode, and remember to uncheck the box that tries to delete all of my dev mode programs every single time I restart back to retail mode. It's like a default.
Right.
Which I did. I spent all this time downloading the DuckStation, customizing it, getting all my settings right, and then I accidentally deleted it when I switched back to retail mode, and I had to do it all over again. No. But still, the opportunity to play DuckStation on Xbox is great because of the power of the Series X. I can overclock these games to run at 60 frames per second, and they looked gorgeous. I could even speed them up if I wanted to and kind of make my own like special editions out of like regular classic ROMs. It's great.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really good.
So there's some videos out there, of course, on YouTube that'll teach you how to do it, but with a little bit of elbow grease and a little bit of know-how and tweaking, you can get these games running beautifully than they've ever ran. So
nice.
Good stuff.
That's very cool.
Yep. I think that covers it for news. So we're getting on towards the end of the show, Dylan. Before we go, I have just one question that I want to ask you as my honorary co-host. What you feeling this week?
What I'm feeling is maybe something that I'm not sure you guys will have seen before, and it's a game. It's a huge franchise over here in Britain, and it's called Championship Manager. So basically, what it is, it's like a football or soccer manager simulator. So you'll take control of a football team, as we'd call them over here. So either like Manchester United or Dunfermline, which is my local team, and you basically just play a season's, go through, sign players, sell players, just what you would normally do as a manager of a football club. But what I've been playing is an edition which is from the season 2001-2002. So we're looking back 20 years ago now. But yeah, I got a download of it on Sunday, and I've been playing it quite a lot on my lives this week on TikTok, and it's just blew up. It's absolutely insane how many people have jumped on the lives and said, oh, the nostalgia of this game. Because these were the sort of games where you would start playing it at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and literally finish playing it at 5 o'clock in the morning. You could lose hours and hours just playing this game. So yeah, it seems to have been really popular on my lives. It's blew up my channel a little bit, so I've done a bit of a video as well to how you can actually get this game for free. It's all legit and everything. It's the company that produced the game has actually released it for free for people to download. So yeah, I've been taking it back 20 years in time to when I was 20-year-old playing this game. So absolutely awesome nostalgia for me this week.
That's really cool. Wow. Okay. And yeah, I think I remember seeing that video. It was like how to download Championship Manager for free in under 60 seconds. Was that it?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's
awesome.
Nice.
Love that. All right.
What about yourself?
I'd mentioned earlier that I was going to talk about the cheat code when you have a newborn.
Yeah.
And you still want a game for hours on end. Okay. What I'm feeling this week, it's called, listen closely, gamers, it's called a Boppy. Now, as a father of young children, do you remember or know what a Boppy is?
I have no clue until you maybe tell me a bit about it, and it might ring a bell.
The Boppy is basically a nursing pillow. It goes around your waist, and it helps you hold the baby while you're nursing the baby. It's for women, right?
Yeah, right.
But here's the thing. For a guy with a gamer bod, which I always seem to develop right before I have a baby, it's like I instinctively eat as much food as my wife does. It fits pretty snugly around me, and when I need to watch the kid because he won't sleep alone in his bassinet, or because we don't want to leave him alone in a room or whatever, or I'm just feeding him a bottle, I will lay the baby on the Boppy in front of me, and the baby either sleep on my chest or eat, and then I can comfortably rest my arms on the sides of the Boppy because it's a huge pillow that wraps around me, and I can play video games.
That is genius.
I played through most of Resident Evil 2 Revelations with my 5-year-old back when he was a baby, like pulling the night shift so my wife gets some sleep, feeding him from the bottle any extra breast milk that she had or formula, and he's just content and chill, and I'm shooting zombies, and we were having a great time. And the 6 hours that I put into Mass Effect between yesterday and today, little Malcolm just hanging out with me on the Boppy pillow. It's wonderful. So,
I was wondering how you were able to do that with a 1-week-old. I was going to say, because Mass Effect is a game that you need the hours to be put into. Yes. So that is genius. That's genius.
Right. Boppy, it's the new gamer parents cheat code, y'all. Get you a Boppy.
This could be something you could be now trying to patent. Never mind this being for women for pregnancies. There's a little niche for you there for gamers.
Somebody already beat me to it.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah, on Facebook right now, there's a Kickstarter, and I don't know what they call it, but people in the comments are like, that's a fucking Boppy. And they're like, yeah, we know what inspired us to make this. And they're like, but you're just making a Boppy. But it's basically, they're calling it like a gamer pillow or something. And it's the same thing because you can rest your arms on it and it's much more comfortable, but it really is. But again, when I lost a whole bunch of weight after we had been, like I lost about 50 pounds after he was like 6 to 9 months old, and then I only just recently gained the weight back. It wouldn't fit right on me, so you kind of have to have a bit of a gut, I feel like. Maybe not, though. But yeah,
the dad bod,
is,
that's what you're needing.
It works. It really does. It's great. So, yeah, awesome. The Boppy is what I am feeling this week. Now, we're going to take a quick break to give it up for our sponsor, Anchor, but please don't go anywhere because we'll be right back to let you know where you can find Dylan and catch both of us on TikTok. Be back in a minute. All right, and we're back. So, Retrosega81, my good friend, let me ask you one question. The folks out there, they're interested in seeing the polls, the classic games, the classic media. They're on that TikTok. Where can they locate you at?
Yeah, so all you need to do is just search for Retrosega81. Emblem will be a picture of Sonic from the load-up screen from Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, and I'm pretty much there. I'm trying to get more and more active on my lives and things, so if not every day, every second day I'll be on my live, so you can join me when I'm playing games and things like that. I'm not really on any other social media with the page because I'm still quite new to all this from just creating the page in August. So yeah, TikTok's the main way to get in touch with me.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'll make sure that we have a link to your TikTok in the show notes. And don't forget, folks, we upload episodes of our podcast every single Sunday. And our main hub, anchor.fm/player2 is under the pod. But you can listen to our podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts are available, including Breaker, Google Podcast, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can find us on TikTok.com/@player2 is under the pod, Facebook.com/player2 is under the pod, YouTube, player2 is under the podcast. Like, subscribe, follow, comment. Do that for us. Do that for Retrosega81. It helps us out, and it's free, and we really appreciate it. If you really want to help us out, we do have a patreon.com/player2 is under the pod. And if you want to contact us, you can do that through our social media or by emailing us at mcpaperstacks@gmail.com if you have listener questions, guest suggestions, feedback, etc. All right, I believe that's a show.
Lovely, brilliant, awesome.
I would like to
really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much. I'd like to take a moment to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to sit down with me and just talk games for an hour. I really enjoyed myself, and I appreciate the interest, and I appreciate all the effort you put into your channel. It's awesome.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it likewise for yourself and all the engagement and speaking to you, and made some good friends with you guys as well. So no, I appreciate you and let me come on the podcast. It was cool. Hopefully can do it again sometime.
Yeah, we need to have you back so we can have Derek on. I know he was really bummed about not being able to be on today, so we're going to have everybody back, to be honest. So
nice one. Yeah, I'll definitely be up for that.
For sure. All right. And to you folks out there, thanks for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. And we will see you next week. Take care.